Okay, so let's see here. And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Ed Smith. Got Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, Tigers, and the game between Michigan and Ohio State. We'll recap their win against Maryland at Maryland in between. But first, the Lions, they beat the Chicago Bears 31-26. They had to come back from down 26-14. And man, it was a rough start for the Lions offense. Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions, plus that fumble on the kickoff return gave the Bears the chance to take the lead, which they did. Justin Fields is a dangerous quarterback, and I know that. But really, the Lions offense kind of had a little bit of trouble keeping up with themselves and the Bears offense as well. And give credit to both defenses, but really just those turnovers early on had us concerned. But the game was not over yet. The Lions got the ball with 4:15 left, down 26-14, and then Jamison Williams with 2:59 left caught a bomb in the end zone. And then the Bears went 3 and out. They ran the ball the first 2 times in their drive where they had to try to put it away. But on 3rd and 8, Justin Fields decided and the Bears offensive coordinator decided to go for a deep passing play. It was almost caught, but it's just a little bit out of reach and overthrown and incomplete. But if I were the Bears, I would have stuck with the running game on 3rd and 8, but that saved the Lions a timeout. That was a gift for the Lions. So the Lions got the ball back, and they used the 2-minute warning, and then they used the timeout, and then David Montgomery punched it in there for a 1-yard score, and then Sam Laporta, he was used the final 2 drives. He caught the 2-point conversion, and then the Lions defense forced a safety just on one play in that ensuing Bears drive. The Bears started from their own 20. Aiden Hutchinson dragged Darnell Wright all the way to force a fumble on Justin Fields. And then Darnell Wright kicked it into the back of the end zone for the safety to make it 31-26. And that was that. Amon-Ra St. Brown recovered the free kick. It was like a can of corn. And then the knee. Lions 8-2 for the first time since 1962. So some pros and cons. The pass rush has been doing all they could, like for most of the season. But there are adjustments to be made in other areas. So Ed, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll just get the cons right out the way. The fact that this team was first and foremost -3 in turnover margin. The 4 turnovers that includes the 3 picks by Goff and the fumble by Reynolds. Um, the only reason they were -3, of course, also was the fact that they did at least one of those turnovers back on Chicago, and Cam Sutton forced the fumble, which was recovered by Alex Anzalone. By the way, Anzalone, another stellar game for the defensive captain. 15 tackles total, had 11 of those by himself. The team's leading tackler, once again, it seems like it's a broken record now saying that. So he was one player. Brian Branch, another player, showing up very well on the defensive stat sheet. So there was other players getting involved on the defense. Aleem McNeil had a key, I believe he had a key sack late in the game as well that contributed to the comeback. Of course, the aforementioned Aiden Hutchinson strip sack fumble. Frankly, Aiden, he needed that. It had been, I think, at that point, 3 or 4 games since he had last tallied a sack. So getting that strip sack fumble, which led to the safety on that last drive, was, I think, much needed for Aiden in more ways than one. You would think it would probably help. Let's see if he can use that to help flip the switch in the second half of the season. But you also got to take consideration that the Lions also may be waiting on other players to get back or waiting on certain additions to be added to their team. Like, for example, the addition of signing of Bruce Irvin, waiting for James Houston to recover from his injury. I think he just took his boot off and was seen working out in Allen Park this week without his boots. That should be a sign of progress. Of course, the continuing update of CJ Gardner Johnson. I still believe he is currently ready to be still slated for a return in the playoffs, presumably in the divisional round. But it seems to be his recovery is well on track to where we'll be seeing him and James Houston return to the team in the near future. So despite all that, despite the turnover differential, despite the defense giving up over 100 yards rushing to Justin Fields, who, by the way, this was his first game back since returning from a thumb injury, and he still produced over 270 total yards and that touchdown on the Lions defense. Despite all that, which has been an Achilles heel for this team in some instances for the better part of this season, despite the fact that also Chicago, let's not forget, they doubled the time of possession on the Lions. Chicago had the ball for 40 minutes compared to only 20, barely under 20 for Detroit. Despite all that, Detroit still found a way to win. That's a sign of what's the old saying? Good teams find a way to win games like game even on when their A game is not on. That was a prime example of that. That's what the good teams do. They find a way to overcome, show resiliency, and show great perseverance. Because I gotta tell you, Jared Goff, with the way he had played in those first three quarters, yes, he had those three interceptions. You could argue he should have had four, with one of them being a drop pick six by the Bears. But guess what? Fourth quarter, he strapped up big time. Went 11-14 at 120 yards, plus that touchdown to JMO, who, by the way, another solid week of JMO. He keeps stacking good weeks, good games on top of one another, getting more comfortable, getting more involved. You love to see his progression, and oddly enough, you start to see. I'm not hearing those any chattering for those in the anti-JMO crowd. How convenient! How you're seeing that coming about? But anyway, there's that. The fact that David Montgomery, you know for a fact that Monty was very much looking forward to this game against his old team, and it showed most especially on that last drive. He looked like a man possessed, whether it
Mhm.
be catching passes out the backfield, getting handoffs from Goff the shotgun, especially at the goal line. He refused to be brought down, getting tremendous yards after contact, still being able to push the ball in certain key plays, like with that very first play where he caught the pass, still was short of the first down marker, but used sheer effort and force to get those extra yards needed. Trust me, the Lions needed all those yards and then some to not only move the ball, but also milk the clock down enough to where even if Chicago got the ball back, it was as less time as possible. And frankly, it worked out to their favor.
Yeah. And David Montgomery is such a powerful running back. And that's why they used him on first and goal inside the one at the half-yard line to take the lead back 27-26 before the 2-point conversion and then the safety.
Which by the way had been set up by that impressive run to the one by Jameer Gibbs, who had himself another touchdown run in this game as well. So you also notice the fact that they're able to start to understand of how to use Gibbs and Montgomery together as a duo. Both dudes got a touchdown in this game. The creativity and the usage of opening up the playbook to utilize both players, which by the way, it's convenient that they both have capabilities as two down backs. Gibbs much more so than Montgomery, but still very much capable. And with Ben Johnson as the coordinator making up plays for this offense, it fits like a glove.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, with that win, the Lions improved to 8-2. The first time since 1962, the Lions had an 8-2 record. That's amazing.
Mm, that's truly
And
remarkable. Even the team in '91 that went to the NFC Championship game, they didn't start this well.
I know, right? The Vikings lost to the Broncos 21-20 to drop to 6-5. The Packers They just barely beat the Chargers 23-20 to improve to 4-6. Of course, the Chicago Bears still kind of tanking 3-8 after the Lions beat them. So the Lions,
You gotta pay. You gotta mention. You gotta pay attention to this though. Starting with that game against the Bears, five of the Lions' remaining 8 games on the schedule are against teams within the division. This is, like I said, these are your money games for a reason. This is where you earn the division crown by putting distance between you and your opponents by winning these head-to-head matchups. They went 5-1 last season to finish with games within the division. That's one reason why they finished 9-8. So if you can repeat that success this year, you hands down win the division going away. So you can only look to try to recreate that kind of success here again. Now, again, it is not easy to go 6-0 against your entire division, but the fact that you know with the Bears, even though Justin Fields can on any given day, as we saw this past Sunday, be a difference maker, the Bears are still the Bears. There's a reason why they blew that lead in 3 minutes. Okay, the Vikings.
a
It's a cute story. Yeah,
98.2% chance of
yeah,
winning.
exactly. And by the way, that's the type of game that Lions, it goes without saying, the Lions in the past, they lose that game. But again, a great credit to Dan Campbell for making sure, for having somehow the players have this type of belief in themselves that, hey, even though the the odds looked as uh, bad as they did, they still found a way to persevere and pulled on through. So something like that could come in handy um, in another crucial game, whether it be late in the season or in the playoffs, to where you need to have that type of will, if dare I say, that grit mentality to push on through. So. Like I mentioned before, it comes in crucial when you're trying to nail the division by winning the games against your division opponents, and they got another one coming up here on Thanksgiving against the Packers.
Yep, the Packers, like I mentioned before, 4-6, trying to come back for a wild card spot at least. So the Lions can't take them for granted. But the Lions just need to make more adjustments, such as taking care of the football, starting at the top with Jared Goff. 3 interceptions, can't do that. Can't be doing those. The last 2 home games, technically, and I'm not talking about on the road, just at home against the Las Vegas Raiders and the Chicago Bears, the Lions offense had struggled, but still they still find ways to win because their at least partially because their defense has been closing games out, especially in the end against the Chicago Bears. That safety by forced by Aiden Hutchinson, such powerful strength,
And
such impressive. Like I mentioned
very, yes,
before.
very much so. Yeah, that play was a pure perfect example of Hutchinson's ability, his motor, um, his determination on certain key issues. Because again, that reminded me of like the play last season in Chicago when the Bears are trying to drive down the field and Hutchinson had got a key sack on Justin Fields again in that one. So a little bit of deja vu and probably maybe a good omen by seeing the former Michigan Wolverine strip sack the former Ohio State Buckeye QB to win the game. Maybe a good omen, but we'll get to that later on.
Yep, I was just gonna say that was a good omen, a good tribute is right. So the Green Bay Packers coming in with at least 3 key injuries. Aaron Jones is out. Tight end Luke Musgrave is out, and AJ Dillon is questionable.
That's their other
So
running back too. So,
yeah,
and it's quite. By the way, conversely for the Lions, the only player listed on the injury report this week is Jonah Jackson. That's it. He's the only player listed as out. Everyone, in terms of anyone else that's currently available on the active roster, we're good to go. We are as close to a full goal as you can possibly get, and that's even including the guys on IR that I aforementioned with James Houston and CJ Gardner Johnson. So this could not have lined up any better if you were Detroit in terms of facing a Packers team who, by the way, you already handled on the road in week 3. Um, and now you're coming into this game with being arguably healthier for this matchup than you did for that matchup. and it's at home, and you're a 7.5, 8 point favorite. To me, it comes down to Vegas believes, yeah, not only should you handle this team, you should win this game easily, but it comes down to, like we mentioned, taking care of the ball. Because frankly, let's face it, that's the only reason why Chicago is even in that game to begin with. With all those turnovers, with when you notice the way they happen on certain drives, with Detroit driving the ball down the field the way they did, if they just took care of the ball better, we would have seen the Lions likely win and cover that spread against the Bears. So to me, it
And
just
the
comes down to the
Raiders.
same thing here. Yeah, no, I thought they covered against the Raiders, but
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
that's right. They did. They won by 12 in
yeah.
that game.
But in
Yep.
terms of
So
here against the Packers, it just comes down to, like you said, Taylor, taking care of the ball. Learn from your lessons of what Goff did from this past Sunday. Don't try to force the ball in certain reads, and yeah, because frankly, those turnovers was just an issue. And actually, not all those interceptions were on Goff, if you can believe it or not. A
one
couple
of
of
them was
those, it
tipped.
looked like, yeah, at least one of those was a tip pass. So I can't really put all of that on Jarrett, but still, the stat line will still show you had 3 picks on your day. So you want to improve on that. Goff was relatively clean all season in terms of having games such as that. You hope you can not repeat that again at some point this season. So again, better ball security, and frankly, if you're the defense, just look back at what you did in week 3. The fact that you were able to get the constant defensive pressure on Jordan Love the way you did, with 5 sacks, with 2 interceptions. So, and that was on again. That was at Lambeau. Now you're going to be here at home with the crowd as loud as possible on Thanksgiving with the throwbacks and everything else. Come on, the atmosphere is saying the Lions should win this game and win this game easily. So I know what my score is going to be, but Taylor, I just want to see what your score is first.
Well, if I'm Jared Goff, I know some of it's not on me, but I have to pay just more attention to who I'm throwing the ball to, of course. But other than that, if if I do that, then I would predict the Lions. I would say to win anyway. I I would say the Lions 31 and the Packers 20.
Well, I would say between the fact that even though Green Bay is going to be scouting to try to minimize Detroit's impact offensively, the fact that you have so many weapons available on that offense, whether it be Gibbs, whether it be Montgomery, you can set them up using the run behind that stout offensive line, and or if necessary, bait them into using play action. And then you have your options with Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Sam Laporta, and now you're starting to use and get Jamison Williams more involved. You even have the occasional Josh Reynolds. Hey, we need a first down. Go get us a first down. So, and also, like I said, we haven't even got a chance to get Donovan Peoples-Jones involved. Imagine he
Yeah.
gets a touchdown in this game. So, knowing that that's just too much, in my opinion, for the Packers, which is, by the way, a already hurt Packers team to try to defend against this Detroit team who is clicking on all cylinders right now. To me, and also, by the way, conveniently enough, this is the 10-year anniversary of when the Lions absolutely thumped the Packers on Thanksgiving. I think that was the 41-10 game. I don't think it's going to be 41-10, but I do
2013.
see
Yep.
the yeah, but I do see Detroit winning this one by a 34-17, 31-17 kind of deal. So
We'll go
they'll
with
win and they'll
34
cover.
17. We'll go with
I
34
go.
17.
Mhm.
So Thursday at 12:30 on Fox. Can't wait to see that one.
Yep, should be a nice turkey day for all Lions fans.
Yep. Just
Hopefully.
just make sure you do your job right. That's all. The Red Wings, they blanked the New Jersey Devils 4-0 to improve to 9-6-3, now at 21 points. Fifth place in the not so Atlantic division. Second place, back up to second place in the Eastern Conference wildcard spot. The Toronto Maple Leafs hold the first Eastern Conference wildcard spot at 10-5-2 with 22 points. The Philadelphia Flyers just behind the Red Wings in the 21-point tiebreaker. 10 wins, 8 losses, and 1 overtime/shootout loss. But the Red
Mhm.
Wings, considering they shut out the New Jersey Devils, Alex Lyon 16 saves in a 4-0 win. The Red Wings have to feel good about themselves right now,
Well,
heading into
they
Friday's game
definitely
against the
do.
Boston Bruins.
Yeah, for sure. They had to feel good about themselves because they needed this one. Going into this game, they had lost 4 of the past 5 games. Yeah, they had the 5-4 win against Columbus, but then they followed it up by two back-to-back disappointing games in Sweden. You were down. What was it? You had your multi-goal deficit against the Senators. You came back. I think you're right. You're down 4-0. Came back, showed great heart, perseverance, tied the game up, but then you blew it in overtime. And then what? Against Toronto, up 2-0, then wind up blowing it and losing again in overtime. So
In
gotta
regulation.
learn on how. Yeah, well, excuse me, in regulations, but still, you gotta learn on how to finish those games. Can't keep blowing them late like that. That's the next step you gotta learn. You gotta take as a team and trying to want to get to that next level. Now, the fact that they did respond, they beat the hell out of the Devils here tonight. Frankly, it was needed. Dylan Larkin, he got his first goal in quite a while. He had
3 goals
zero
in a minute and
points.
12 in the
Yeah, he
first
had
period.
0 points. He had 0 points in the past 3 or 4 games. And speaking of points, Alex DeBrincat, he found himself an assist here tonight. So that's now 4 points for Big Cat in 4 straight games. So you want to see your two best players getting involved, gelling, and contributing to the team's offensive output. But that can't be complimented enough if you're not getting good production from your goaltending, whether it be Husso, whether it be Reimer, or whether it be Lyon, like you said. So we have developed that better, better consistent, solid performances, I would say. No, I'm not expecting 1 and 2 goal shutouts every time, but make sure to try to keep it as under 4 as possible. So that way you keep that pressure off your offense will be more helpful to see. So again, um, good job rebounding tonight against New Jersey, but they got to keep that up.
Yep, they got the Boston Bruins coming up on Black Friday.
Mm.
Yeah, and the Red Wings. Yeah, it's back at TD Garden. What do you know? Then they got Saturday off, and then Sunday at home against the Minnesota Wild at 1 on Bally Sports Detroit. You can check out the rest of the entire schedule at DetroitRedWings.com and on the NHL mobile app and on the Detroit Red Wings official mobile app as well. Man, the Pistons 2-13. Yeah,
Oh
worst record
God.
in the NBA. Even Mike Valeni was 100% right about them when he just ragdolled them on 97 The Ticket.
They deserve to be ragdolled. When you lose, you just lost. You've lost 11 straight games. Your defense has gotten progressively worse each and every time. You still don't know how to take care of the ball. And frankly, it's just becoming more and more of it's Cade Cunningham and everybody else. Listen, I know Jalen Duren's hurt, but I understand that Jaden Ivey may be having some aggression issues, but you can't just use that as an excuse to keep benching him or keeping him on the bench if you're Monty Williams. He's got to have to learn. He's going to have to learn how to play through that. That's what, because that's the only way he's going to have to learn how to get better. But in the fact that Cade Cunningham itself, it took, your leader, your captain, your best player, and Cade Cunningham to basically flat out be honest of what's going on. He was talking to the Athletic. This was even quoted in ESPN. He said, and I'm quoting Cade here, we've got to be realistic about the situation, which is what he said after they got their asses whipped by the Toronto Raptors. Quote, it's hard to be just like, oh, we're good, because we're bad. We've got to address that. So I'm glad that he at least acknowledged that he wasn't delusional. He wasn't crazy. He said the words that frankly that we needed to hear him say. We're bad. And
He's being real.
yes, he's being honest. And then he continued. He said, we're the youngest team in the league, scrapping and clawing for everything. This should be the last thing that needs to be asked of us or talked about of how hard we're competing. He was
They give up
quoted as saying,
142 points to the Raptors. 142.
I mean, it's hard to say that, and then when you look at that production, something's not clicking. But anyway, going back to Kate's quote, when we wake up in the morning, we should be like, we got to get to the court. Coach Williams shouldn't have to ask. That's something that me and Isaiah Stewart are also trying to stay vocal about. Everyone has to come with it. So, in Cade's own way, this was him sending a message or in some way sending a challenge to his team. What in the hell are y'all going to do? How are you going to stand up for yourselves? Because frankly, this is unacceptable. It shouldn't take your coach having to call out your will or your effort, or your coach consistently putting you on the bench for it to come like this. Something is going on here. You've got to figure this out. Otherwise, yeah, we're heading to the lottery again. And frankly, if you're Troy Weaver, I don't want to start seeing that as a reoccurrence. If I'm trying to prove to the fans and my boss, Tom Lawrence, that oh yeah, everything's going fine with this rebuild, when clearly it's not. So if I'm him, I would not want to see this team potentially be another lotto team, as it looks to be potentially upcoming, without my seat potentially getting warm. I'll just say that.
Right. Pistons almost beat the defending champs, the Denver Nuggets, and
And
that
that's only
was
because
not around.
Jokic got ejected. That's only because Jokic got ejected. If he was there,
George
they would
Karl
have
as
killed them by
well.
20. Exactly. All right. If Jokic was there, they would have killed them by 20. Let's be honest.
More like over 20. Yeah, George
They got a
Karl
gift
also
horse
got
in the mouth.
ejected.
Yeah, they got a gift horse in their mouth, and they can do a damn thing about it.
Two gifts. George Karl and Nikola Jokic, both gone in the
Mm.
first quarter. And you still couldn't be. And you collapsed 8-2 in the final stages of the fourth quarter, and you still
Mm.
lose. Yeah, come on. Even if you're playing the defending champs, you still can't use that excuse either. You
No
can't use
excuse.
Bojan Bogdanovic or Monty Morris being gone due to injuries
Mm-mm.
as an excuse either. Don't forget
No,
that.
exactly. You know, right. You know when they're coming back.
It's
It's
just
up to you now
unacceptable.
to step up and play. Exactly. Completely unacceptable.
Yeah, those are just not the reasons why you're 2-13, because you keep turning the ball over, and there's almost like it's no chemistry whatsoever.
No, no. It's like everybody's trying to get their own, and you're just not seeing cohesiveness. You're not seeing proper team basketball. You're just not.
Right. So let's move on to a little bit of baseball. The Tigers, being one of 12 teams showing interest in Japanese pitcher Yoshinobu Yamamoto, all 12 listed teams started negotiating with him the past Tuesday, including the Red Sox, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, all those teams. So if I'm both Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg, the duo, I would get after Yamamoto like either now or soon.
Well, if you're going to be prepared to be prepared to bring the Brinks truck, because more than likely, because let's first and foremost let's go over his resume, concerning the fact that A, he's 25 years old, and B, he's essentially, if you go in terms of go by resume, accomplishments, and all that, he is essentially one of the literal best pitchers in the entire world. Okay, so he has a career ERA of under 2. He is a 2-time league MVP. He is a 3-time Sawamura Award winner, which is their equivalent of the Cy Young. He is a 3-time winner of that. He is a 3-time pitching Triple Crown winner. He's also a Japan Series, which is again their equivalent of the World Series. He's also a recent Japan Series champion from last year, and also on top of that, he's also an Olympic gold medalist from 2020. So yeah, putting all that into consideration and knowing that, yeah, he's also only 20 effing 5 years old, be prepared to bring money. And I'm talking 9 figures. I'm talking 200 million or more starting point. And frankly, knowing who your owner is, good luck.
Usage.
Okay,
No.
because the fact that I'm reading reports of, oh, we're more interested in Seth Lugo. Okay, that's inexcusable. You have so much money coming off the books between Miguel Cabrera and more than likely Eduardo Rodriguez walking away as well. All that money coming off your books, and you're going after Seth Lugo.
Oh,
Stop.
really? Jeff Moss picked up on that one. It like in a hurry, like immediately, and Moss
Right,
was
as
like
he should
on the
have.
team.
And it's like, right, because at this point, if you're going to be if you're showing me of that level of seriousness of you are in free agency, then frankly, you shouldn't be owning a team at this point. Okay, the fact that the friggin' Lions, are about to lap you, if not, in fact, no, they've been lapping you. They're just about to lap you again in terms of relevancy in this
That's
city.
not the
Is
only team the
saying
Lions have been
something.
lapping in the city of Detroit. The Pistons as well.
Yeah, okay. The Red Wings are trying, but again, the Lions, but most especially the Tigers, the Lions have completely lapped the Lion. The Lions have completely lapped them in all shape, or form for the past couple of years now, and it's embarrassing. Um, if you're the Tigers to still be in this position, saying, "Oh, maybe we could get this, and that." Again, I understand you're still dealing with players. Like, there's no way that Javi Baez was gonna find any other team that was gonna give him 15 million, let alone 20 or 25 million. So it's not surprised that he decided to opt into his deal, much to our chagrin. But still, you mean to tell me that knowing that you have a pitching staff that has Casey Mize coming off of Tommy John, a Tariq Skubal who's still young, Matt Manning, yeah, you have young pieces that aren't quite proven yet. You mean to tell me you don't want to try to go after a solid piece that, at the bare minimum, makes you a favorite to win this division, hands down, because you've seen how horrible and crappy the AL Central has been and continues to be. You mean to tell me that getting a player of this caliber wouldn't make you an instant favorite to win the division, get into the playoffs, generate interest, fan intrigue, getting more turnstiles into Comerica Park, getting more money and revenue generated, which you're going to need, by the way, if the whole ballot thing goes belly up, which I expect it to be. Come on, it's common sense here. And even if you don't get him, at least show that you put in a genuine, serious effort to go and get him. Don't be all pussyfooting and say, "Oh, we did this." No, do more than just pick up the phone. Give me an offer. Show me that you tried to go all in at some point.
Yeah, be aggressive immediately.
Mm. Or just at all. But don't wait too late for them to say, "Oh, well, this is the most we," and then it comes, "Oh, we only offered 120 mil." Stop it.
Right. So you got to be the highest bidder. That
Or
that's all.
close to it to
Yeah.
show that you're at least serious.
Yeah. So in other Tigers news, they non-tendered the contracts of Austin Meadows, Spencer Turnbull, Garrett Hill, Freddie Pacheco, and Brennan Hannafy. Now, I want to touch on Austin Meadows a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, he hasn't played much due to his mental health issues. I'm wondering if he may have to quit baseball for the rest of his life.
Meanwhile, Isaac Paredes is turning into one of the best up and comers in the whole game, and Tampa has full team control rights of his contract until 2027. So yeah,
Yep,
nice trade, very nice trade.
Alavila.
God,
Well, at least the Tigers keep Jake Rogers, Akil Badu, Casey Mize, and Tarek Skubal. But
woohoo!
that's about it. Yeah, that's about it as of right now. So the Michigan Wolverines, they beat the Maryland Terrapins 31-24. The entire game was close, entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Maryland had the other Tagovailoa brother of Tua, who still plays for the Miami Dolphins, but really, yeah, Michigan.
Talua,
Yeah, Taloa
Talia,
Tagovailoa,
Talia, yeah,
Talia
Talia, yeah.
Tagovailoa. Yep. Thanks very much. So
Mhm.
it was pretty much a shootout, in between a shootout and a defensive slugfest. It was like in between it. It was close either way. So
Too close for comfort. Too close for comfort. I liked how Michigan started with their aggressiveness, especially in terms of defense, making adjustments to what Maryland was trying to do offensively on first and second down. bringing more pressure. Which, by the way, I meant to mention on the good adjustment, piggybacking off the Lions, going back to the Lions real quick. Good adjustment by Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, by early on seeing that Justin Fields was running around all over him, bringing more pressure, bringing more defensive linemen to try and stop that. Yeah, that create open opportunities potentially for your secondary to be on an island, but still, I'll take those chances as opposed to Fields running gash plays on me all day, every day. So. Um, Michigan had to make some adjustments of doing something similar, bringing pressure because Maryland was doing a good job moving the ball in the first couple drives of the game. So with Jesse Minter just bringing extra pressure, that got Tagovailoa rattled. It caused a couple turnovers, including that sack fumble, which led to a scoop and score. Um, and frankly, we saw that pressure throughout all day, leading to more key plays and key moments and turnovers. Like Mikey Sanders, still once again making himself into an absolute Wolverine legend in more ways that you could think of. Had two more interceptions in this game. The defense was in when you needed them to step up was huge. Kenneth Grant was a friggin' monster. He is looking like someone uh, who could be a potential, I would say, first round defensive line draft pick within a couple of years' time. Because between him looking like Larry Allen chasing down the Penn State player the week before, and then his performance against Penn State this past week, yeah, he's looking like a future first round talent. And the fact that he's only a sophomore is terrifying. So guys like him, and again, just up and down with the offense as well. Blake Corum getting the necessary yards, getting some more touchdowns. He now has 51 career touchdowns in his Michigan career. That has him, I believe, right, second, sole possession of second place, only behind Anthony Thomas. Um, while there is concern in terms of with Sharon Moore handling not just offensive line duties, offensive coordinator duties, and head coaching duties all at the same time. It could be a correlating number as to why the offensive production has been anemic at best in terms of games where Sharon Moore has been in charge of play calling. JJ McCarthy, in particular, his performances have not been as impressive. In fact, they've been below average at best. Some would say. Now, I'm willing to give caveat to the fact that the Bowling Green game was, um, I would say, an anomaly. And for the terms of the Penn State game and this Maryland game, you could clearly tell that JJ was dealing with some type of injury to his lower body, preferably maybe on his leg or his ankle. Now, as terms of to his injury update for Ohio State this week, Sharon Moore said that JJ looks to be fine, looks to be good to go. Same thing with Roman Wilson, by the way, who he took a big hit early on, got knocked out of the game. But Coach Moore said that Roman Wilson's good to go. Mike Barrett, other players on that defense, including their starting defensive tackle, whose name escapes me at the moment, but multiple players that left the game due to injury against Maryland. It looks like to be that they all will be ready and good to go for against Ohio State, which is huge because which is one of the things I said from last week, which was you did not want a repeat of the Blake Corum situation against Illinois from last year, which in one instance you didn't because no one of extreme value suffered a catastrophic injury, but you still had shades of that Illinois game because of how uncomfortably close it got even into the deep stages of the fourth quarter. The fact that you still needed a Blake Corum fourth and inches conversion to get that last first down to essentially run out the clock says it all. But what matters is you got the win. You should never apologize for the win. And now you're 11-0, back-to-back years. I believe that's the first time ever in Michigan history, football history, that the team has 11-0 in back-to-back seasons. And now you have everything that you could want for on a silver platter against Ohio State.
Yep. And let's get to that game right now. So Michigan is favored by -3, not 4, just 3.
Hmm.
Saturday at noon on Fox. So big one for Sharon Moore filling in for Jim Harbaugh against Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. So let's get to it.
Frankly, I think if Jim Harbaugh were on the sidelines, the line in Vegas would be bigger. But still, um, even though that this is as low as a line I could think of, I would still say Michigan should be the favorite in this game for a couple of reasons. And I think this reason is highly key among them. Use your running backs because they're all healthy and they're all healthy and all ready to go. Blake Corum, he was not available for Ohio State. He played one snap and his knee was too jacked up. He couldn't go any further. He was done. Donovan Edwards, as legendary as his performance was, he was battling multiple injuries himself. Both of those guys are
Oh, this is super
100%
light.
healthy this year. Not to mention, you also have Kalel Mullings to use at your disposal. You have three
He's a speed.
capable forward. You have three. No, these use your power bruiser back if you need be if you need to go to in certain situations. Even if you're trying to if you can't really get in with Blake in short line or goal line situations, Khalil Mullings could be your situational power back for that. Either way, he is going to be, in my view, as crucial as possible in terms of wanting to get this offense involved because the running backs behind this offensive line will take the pressure off of J.J. McCarthy having to do everything, especially with what we've seen for the past couple of games. Yes, J.J. must still be better. I still want to see shades and glimpses of the J.J. that made the big passes down the field deep, making big touchdowns, key clutch moments. I want to see against Ohio State last year in Columbus. I want to see that JJ, but he still has to be careful, still has to be smart with the ball. And Sharon Moore, if he's got to if he's got to find somebody to split play calling duty in terms of certain plays in the offense to get JJ involved, so be it. But he's got to be aware and understand the pressure of the situation of the moment. It helps that you are at home. You have 100,000 screaming fans for you in your favor this time, so maybe that will make him feel more comfortable. But this is as crucial and big time a moment as you are ever going to get. And I don't know if that moment, whether or not that moment is too big for Sharon Moore, that still remains to be seen. But in terms of what Michigan has to do, at least offensively, use your running backs. JJ has got to be better than what we've seen the past 2 weeks, and every possession has got to count. You got to make it in some type of score, even if you think if it's a long field goal. Make every single point count because against a team like Ohio State, they have the weapons, they have the athletes, they have what it takes to strike at any given moment. So make every possession count, and that's just offense.
Yes. Yep. What's Ohio State's quarterback named again? Can't.
That is Kyle McCord. I believe he was the recruit that Ryan Day, because I think JJ was initially he was recruited by Ohio State. I think he was committed to Ohio State, but then they started recruiting for Kyle McCord. Eventually, they chose Kyle McCord instead, and that led to JJ committing to Michigan.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, McCord's
So
got ways to go at that. At
yeah,
that.
but guess what? He does have shown the capabilities of trying to lead his team into a big time environment and getting a win. Let's not forget of that game winning drive on the road against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
so we can
yeah.
do that
Ohio
against
State
Notre
showed
Dame.
grit and determination.
Exactly. And I can't discount them this year because again, their defense looks to be something different. Um, And while again that should be concerning in terms of what they're going to do to try and force Michigan to be one-dimensional, I still think with what our offensive line can do, and knowing that our running backs are healthy, that can be a potential difference. Even though the fact that Ohio State will have their star running back Travion Henderson back, and that's to go along in with the conversation of Marvin Harrison Jr., who again enough said about him. This guy is the best wide receiver in America. He's one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a long time. And frankly, even if you put 2 or 3 guys on him, he still may get come down with 100 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. He's that damn good. So you got to be prepared to deal with not just him, but you still have guys like Mecca Ibuka. He's on that offense as well. I already mentioned Travion Henderson, and McCord. I think is if you're not getting pressure on him, he can tell you he can light you up. But yet his
Yeah,
QBR has shown that when he is facing pressure, he's ranked at in the 100s in terms of QBR. So again, that's something to look at. If you're Jesse Minter, you may have to go more aggressive than usual, bring more
with the
pressure,
pass
bring
rush. Yeah,
more blitzing. Yeah, bring more blitzers on certain downs because you guys set the tone and the momentum and the rhythm early in terms of making sure that hey, just like what it was last year, just like it was the year before, this is still Michigan's game to be the bully and not the other way around. So and
exactly.
that starts also with controlling um, productive plays on first and second down. If you can force Ohio State into more third and long situations, what that gives you a chance to open up the playbook, what to do, when to bring four guys or bring blitzers with your rushers, and also put more back in the secondary to contend with the wide receivers and the weapons that Ohio State has. So winning the key downs on first and second down will be key as well in terms of limiting Ohio State's offense and limiting their possessions in this game.
All right. So all units have to come alive for Michigan. It's the game. So
The game, and not just the game. It feels like a reckoning of a game, so to speak, because in terms of the stakes, the narratives, the storylines, and knowing that in terms of this potential version of the game could potentially change as a result of next year with expansion of the Big Ten, with the elimination of divisions, with expansion of the college football playoff, we may be looking at one of the last times if we will ever see, if ever, of a season where Michigan and Ohio State play each other just once in a season, because that all could potentially change just starting with next year. So just keep
yeah,
that in mind.
yeah, which could be a which which has to be a darn shame. So yeah, hopefully that does not happen. I'm aware of that. So prediction time. You go first.
Man, I would have never been able to predict the last 2 years happening with the way that they happened, but they did. I think the elements of that happening again are there, but I don't think they are as likely because I do believe Ohio State's defense is better. They have a point to prove, and again, I do believe not having Jim Harbaugh there on the sideline could play some type of factor. That being said, I still think Michigan is the better team. They are at home, and they are still as motivated as, frankly, as any team as I've seen in the entire country, maybe outside of Georgia. So with that said, I'm still saying Michigan 28, Ohio State 24.
Okay, Michigan, Michigan to win by 4. The
So
line is minus
so
3, by the
they'll
way.
barely cover. They'll barely cover. I don't think it's going to be a double digit win, but I think Michigan will barely cover. It'll be by a touchdown or so.
Oh, in between a field goal and a touchdown. Yeah,
Yeah,
technicality.
in between 3 and 7.
I'm
So it'll be
gonna
a one score
go.
game.
I'm gonna go. Michigan 30, Ohio State 24. Win by 6.
Now, do you see a chance to where Ohio State can win this? Do you see their defense being fast enough to get after JJ potentially to force some turnovers? Do you see Travion Henderson being able to run up and down the field? Do you see Marvin Harrison Jr. being able to make big plays against the secondary to where if enough of that happens, Ohio State could scrape out a win? Do you see a scenario where that happens, Taylor? Because I'm trying to prepare myself for all
It's a toss
situations
up.
here.
It's a
Yeah,
toss up.
again,
I still
it is
predict
for a
Michigan to
reason.
win
It
by
feels like a
6.
toss up. It feels like a toss up. It feels like in terms of stakes, drama, all the anticipation. Frankly, very few games in the history of this series can rival this one. I think only one that would top this will be 2006 1 versus 2. It has that type of atmosphere, that type of feeling attached to it, that sense of foreboding, uh, uh, mood. So that's what I attach to it. But I do say that Michigan on senior day, because remember, for some of these players, this will be their very last game at the big house. I think they're going to want to have fond memories of that day. So I say Michigan will get it done. They'll win. Yes, they'll cover, but it won't be a double-digit victory like we saw in 21 or 22.
Right. My 6-point prediction is not double figures. I know that.
Oh no.
Let's get
Oh
that
no,
right.
no. Of course.
All right. So those are all the topics. So what all did we learn?
Frankly, we learned that the Lions are not only a team that is legitimate, they are a team that should be considered as one of the perennial favorites to win the NFC. That is being evident, that is showing itself to start manifesting itself week by week. And if they do what they're supposed to do on Thanksgiving, and if they handle the business against the division and wrap it up, like, say, oh, I don't know, before Christmas, um, that will show that they're for real. And frankly, outside of Philly, and that's probably it, I wouldn't want to face this team in the playoffs. So that's what we learned about the Lions. We learned that the Red Wings are, speaking of resilience, the Red Wings are a resilient bunch themselves. They're back into that contention for the second wild card spot. They got a much needed win. DeBrincat and Larkin both got points tonight. That's got to keep up, and that's got to continue if you want to see this team contend for a playoff spot. We learned that the Pistons are an absolute world of shit. They're trying to find themselves, and frankly, I don't know how long it's going to be until they find themselves. And frankly, it's Michigan, Ohio State. What else can you learn about that? It's the game for a reason. It is the rivalry for a reason. And this game, in particular, seems to be quite potentially to be bigger and more epic than we have ever witnessed in the history of this rivalry. And that is saying something.
Yep. I've learned that the Lions are still on their way upward toward not only toward the playoffs, but of course the NFC North, an NFC North title for the first time in a long time. The NFC North title, technically, for the first time ever, a division win for the first time in a long time. And keep in mind, the Eagles beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, so the Eagles are still have only one loss, 8-1, or one of the two, or 9-1. But either way, the Lions are 8-2. They're second best in the NFC. It's going to be a toss up between the Eagles and the Lions. It'll just come down to who loses less games more. But it's going to. But I think the Lions will have their hands full and still pull out victories. They're going to have more than 10 wins. Like I predicted, my ceiling is 12 wins. The Red Wings, they're still in this. They're still in this thing. It's still an early playoff picture. They still got a ways to go. They just have to keep on doing what they did tonight against the New Jersey Devils of all teams. They blanked them 4-0. Alex Lyon, I give him credit. Man, it's still too early to tell whether he might be better than Husso and Reimer combined or individually, but we'll see. The Pistons, they're in basketball hell, period. The Tigers, they need to get after Yamamoto. Forget Seth Lugo. You've got to be more aggressive than that if you're Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg. And finally, like I said it before, the game is a toss-up between the Wolverines and the Buckeyes. So that's what we've learned on this episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth and like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like our videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DT2Phillips, also on YouTube and TikTok. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube at EdSmith313. Shout outs go to Athletical Physical Therapy on Woodward in Ferndale, the B4 Foundation, Cali Tickets. Call Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. Let's roll with it. Rolled ice cream, where their flavor of the week is cranberry apple streusel for Thanksgiving. That's really good. Follow them on TikTok at The Food Mafia LLC and on Instagram at The Food Mafia Rolled Ice Cream. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195, and on Facebook, and United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan. So we'll be back either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. And remember, we observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports. Stay on the lookout and stay away, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
It's officially past midnight, so indeed, happy Thanksgiving. Go Lions, be safe, and go blue.
Yes.